The village of Adaku, nestled between the dense emerald forests and the endless expanse of the ocean, was a place of rhythm and tradition. Here, the sea governed life. Its tides dictated when the fishermen cast their nets and when the women waded into the shallows to gather shellfish. The sea's moods were closely watched, for it could be a benevolent provider or a fearsome destroyer. The people of Adaku lived by its rhythms, offering prayers to the spirits of the water and seeking blessings for their endeavors. But among the villagers, none were more desperate for a blessing than Adana and her husband, Nana. Adana was known for her kindness, her laughter often ringing out as she helped weave baskets or prepared meals for village feasts. But behind her bright smile lay a sorrow she could not shake. Years of marriage had passed, yet her arms remained empty of the child she so longed to hold. Each morning, she knelt before the shrine to Allah, the goddess of fertility, her voice raw with prayer. Each evening, Nana sat beside her, offering quiet words of reassurance. "The gods hear you," he would say. "They will answer in their time." But as the seasons turned, hope grew harder to cling to. It was during the Harmattan season, when the dry winds carried dust from the north and the ocean's waves became restless, that strange occurrences began to trouble Adaku. Fishermen spoke of nets coming back empty, though the waters had always teemed with life. Children whispered of eerie lights flickering beneath the waves, and the elders noted how even the birds avoided the shoreline. Eze Ninkem, the village elder, was the first to voice what others feared. One moonless night, as the villagers gathered around the central fire, he stood and raised his hands for silence. "The sea speaks," he said, his voice grave. "Its restlessness is a sign. We must tread carefully, for the spirits of the water are uneasy." The villagers exchanged worried glances, but none dared to question the elder. They returned to their homes with heavy hearts, unsure of what the sea might demand to restore its balance. For Adana, the strange events only deepened her desperation. That night, as Nana slept, she sat by the window of their small hut, staring out at the shimmering ocean. The waves seemed to call to her, their whispers rising above the rustling palms. Adana could not ignore the pull she felt. She slipped out of the hut, careful not to wake Nana, and made her way toward the shore. The village was silent, its inhabitants tucked away in their homes. Only the distant hum of the sea broke the stillness. When she reached the water's edge, she knelt, her knees sinking into the cool sand. Above her, the stars were dim, as though veiled by an unseen force. "O spirits of the sea," she began, her voice trembling, "you who see all, who govern the tides and the lives of those who dwell on your shores, hear my plea." Her voice broke, and she clutched a small wooden carving of Allah, the goddess of fertility, to her chest. "I have tried everything, prayers, offerings, and sacrifices, but my arms remain empty. My heart aches for a child. Please, bless me with a child. I will give anything in return." For a moment, there was nothing but the rhythmic pull of the waves. Then a strange stillness fell over the water. The air grew heavy, and the ocean seemed to hold its breath. Before Adana's astonished eyes, the waves began to recede. They pulled back farther and farther until the seabed lay exposed, glistening under the faint starlight. From the depths, a light emerged, a soft, ethereal glow that grew brighter as it drew closer. Adana gasped as a figure rose from the water. She had heard tales of the sea spirits, but never imagined she would see one herself. The being before her was more beautiful than anything she had ever known. The spirit had the form of a woman, but her lower half shimmered like the scales of a fish, her tail glinting with hues of emerald and sapphire. Her hair cascaded like waves of midnight, and her eyes held the depth of the ocean itself. "Who dares summon me?" The spirit's voice rang out, clear and melodic, yet filled with authority. Adana bowed her head low. "Forgive me, Great One. My name is Adana, and I am but a humble woman of this village. I seek your help. I beg you to grant me the blessing of a child." The spirit regarded her for a long moment, as though weighing the truth of her words. "Your longing is deep, and your heart is pure," she said at last. "I can grant you the child you seek. But know this, the child will belong to the sea. When she comes of age, she must return to me." Adona's breath caught. She had heard of such bargains in the old tales where the spirits gave gifts that came with great costs. Could she make such a promise? The spirit's gaze softened. "Think carefully," she said. "Once the pact is made, it cannot be undone. Should you break it, the sea will exact a price greater than you can bear." Adona closed her eyes, her heart pounding. She thought of the years of emptiness, the whispers of pity from the villagers, and the ache that had taken root in her soul. At last she spoke, her voice steady. "I accept." The spirit nodded. She raised her hands, and between them appeared a glowing orb of light. It pulsed with a warmth that Adona could feel even from where she knelt. "This is the spirit of your child," the spirit said. "Love her well, but remember your promise." The orb floated toward Adona, entering her chest with a warmth that spread through her entire being. When she opened her eyes, the spirit was gone, and the waves had returned to their gentle rhythm. Adona rose, her hands pressed to her chest, where the warmth lingered. She looked out at the ocean, a mixture of gratitude and apprehension swirling within her. She had made her choice. In the months that followed her encounter with the sea spirit, Adona found herself changing in ways she had never imagined. The hollow ache she had carried for years was replaced with a vibrant energy that filled her days with purpose. The signs of life growing within her became evident, and the village buzzed with excitement. "Adona is with child," the women exclaimed, their voices ringing out in celebration. They gathered at her hut, bringing gifts of food, herbs, and blessings. "You have been favored by the gods," said Ulumma, an elderly healer. "After all these years they have finally smiled upon you." Adona smiled in return, but deep within, she carried the weight of the bargain she had made. She and Nana spoke little of it, choosing instead to revel in the joy of their long-awaited blessing. On a night when the full moon bathed the village in its silver light, Adona's labor began. Nana paced outside their hut, his heart racing with equal parts fear and anticipation. Inside, the midwife and a group of women worked tirelessly, their voices soothing as they guided Adona through the ordeal. Hours passed, and then, at the first light of dawn, the sound of a baby's cry broke through the stillness. The midwife emerged, her face alight with joy. "It is a girl," she announced. Nana rushed inside, his breath catching as he saw his wife cradling their newborn daughter. The baby's skin was soft and glistening, her hair dark as the ocean depths, and her eyes shimmered with an otherworldly light. "She is perfect," Adona whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Her name shall be Adaoma, for she is truly a child of a good heart." Adaoma grew quickly, her presence filling the home with laughter and light. Even as a toddler, there was something extraordinary about her. She was drawn to the ocean, toddling toward the shore at every opportunity. The waves seemed to welcome her, lapping gently at her feet and receding as if in play. "She has the sea in her veins," Nana remarked one day, watching as Adaoma splashed in the shallows. Adona turned away, her smile faltering as she remembered the promise she had made to the sea spirit. By the time Adaoma was 5, her gifts had become undeniable. She could sing melodies so enchanting that even the birds would stop to listen. The villagers marveled at her ability to calm restless animals and soothe crying infants with her voice alone. "She is blessed," the villagers said, though some whispered of her unearthly qualities. One day, Adaoma discovered a stranded sea turtle on the shore. Its shell was cracked and it struggled weakly in the sand. Without hesitation, Adoma knelt beside it, her small hands gently stroking its shell. She sang softly, a tune that seemed to rise from the depths of her soul. Slowly the turtle stirred, its movements growing stronger. "You saved it," Nana said in awe as the turtle crawled back into the waves. It needed help, Adoma replied simply, her eyes bright with innocence. Adana watched from a distance, her heart swelling with pride and fear. Each moment of joy with Adaoma was tinged with the shadow of the promise she had made. As Adaoma grew older, her connection to the sea deepened. She could predict the tides with uncanny accuracy, and the fishermen began seeking her advice before venturing out. Her bond with the ocean was a source of wonder, but it also fueled the whispers among the villagers. Is she truly one of us? They wondered. The whispers grew louder when, on her 12th birthday, a pod of dolphins appeared near the shore, leaping and spinning as if in celebration. Adaoma ran to the water, laughing as the dolphins swam close, their sleek bodies glistening in the sunlight. She belongs to the sea, an old woman murmured, her voice heavy with foreboding. Adana and Nana heard the whispers but chose to ignore them. They focused on cherishing the time they had with their daughter, though the weight of the sea spirit's promise loomed ever larger. As Adoma approached her 15th year, Adana's anxiety grew. The spirit's words echoed in her mind. When she comes of age, she must return to me. Adana began to avoid the ocean, unable to face its vast expanse without feeling the pang of impending loss. She prayed fervently, begging the gods to release her from the bargain. But the sea remained silent. One night, as Adana lay awake, she heard a faint melody drifting through the air. She rose quietly and followed the sound, her heart pounding as she realized it was coming from the shore. There, standing at the water's edge, was Adaoma. She was singing, her voice blending seamlessly with the rhythm of the waves. The moonlight illuminated her figure, and for a moment she seemed more spirit than flesh. Adaoma, Adana called, her voice breaking. Adaoma turned, her expression calm. The sea is calling me, Mama, she said softly. I hear it in my dreams. Adana's heart clenched. She ran to her daughter, pulling her into a tight embrace. You are mine, she whispered fiercely. You are my child, not the sea's. Adoma said nothing, but her eyes held a sadness that Adana could not bear to see. The weeks that followed were heavy with an unspoken tension. Adana and Nana grew increasingly protective of Adaoma, urging her to spend more time inland and forbidding her from going to the shore alone. Yet, despite their efforts, the pull of the sea grew stronger. Adoma became restless, her gaze often drifting toward the horizon as though searching for something or someone. One evening, as the family sat outside their hut under a sky painted with the colors of dusk, Nana decided to confront the looming truth. Adana, he began, his voice low but firm, we cannot ignore this any longer. The sea spirit will come for her. We must decide what to do. Adana's hands clenched the edge of her wrapper. No, she said, her voice trembling. There must be another way. We cannot let her go. But we made a promise, Nana replied. If we break it, the sea may take more than just Adaoma. We could bring its wrath upon the entire village. Adana's eyes filled with tears. She knew he was right, but the thought of losing her daughter was unbearable. Adaoma, who had been silent until now, spoke up. Mama, Papa, she said, her voice calm but resolute. I know about the promise. Adana's head snapped up. How do you know? The sea tells me, Adaoma replied. It whispers to me in my dreams. I know that I am not like the other children in the village. I love you both more than anything, but I also feel the sea calling me. I don't want to leave you, but I feel it is my destiny. Her words cut through the air like a blade. Adana broke down, sobbing, while Nana pulled his daughter into a tight embrace. We love you, Adaoma, he said. We will do everything we can to protect you. On the eve of Adaoma's 16th birthday, the village was struck by an unusual storm. The winds howled, bending the palm trees until they nearly touched the ground, and the ocean churned violently. The villagers huddled in their homes, praying fervently for the storm to pass. Adana and Nana kept Adoma close, their fear mounting with each crash of thunder. As midnight approached, the storm suddenly ceased, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. A knock came at the door. Nana froze, his hand tightening around the wooden staff he kept by the door. Who could it be at this hour? Adana shook her head, her heart pounding. Slowly, Nana opened the door, and there she stood, the sea spirit. She looked just as Adana had remembered, her presence otherworldly and commanding. Her hair flowed like dark water, and her eyes glimmered with the light of the moon. "It is time," she said simply. "No," Adana cried, stepping in front of Adaoma. "You cannot take her." The spirit's gaze softened, but her voice was firm. "You made a promise, Adana. A life was given, and now it must return to its origin. This is the balance of the world. Mama, don't fight her," Adaoma said, her voice steady. "I will go." Adana's knees buckled, and Nana caught her as she wept. Adaoma turned to her parents, her own tears glistening in the moonlight. "I will never forget you," she said. "You gave me a life filled with love and joy. I will carry that with me always." The villagers gathered on the shore as the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon. Word had spread of Adaoma's departure, and they came to say their goodbyes. The elders offered blessings, and the women sang songs of farewell. Adaoma stood at the water's edge, her bare feet sinking into the wet sand. She wore a simple white dress, her hair adorned with cowries and beads. The sea spirit stood beside her, a figure of both grace and power. Adana and Nana held on to their daughter for as long as they could, their tears mingling with the salty breeze. "We love you," Adana whispered, her voice cracking. "And I love you," Adoma replied, "always." With a final embrace, she turned and stepped into the water. The waves rose to meet her, forming a path that shimmered with light. The villagers watched in awe as Adaoma and the sea spirit walked into the ocean, their forms gradually blending with the horizon until they were gone. Life in the village gradually returned to normal, though the absence of Adaoma left a void that could never be filled. Adana and Nana often walked along the shore, hoping to catch a glimpse of their daughter or hear her laughter in the waves. One day, as Adana sat by the water, she noticed a small shell glinting in the sand. Picking it up, she saw that it was carved with intricate patterns, much like the ones Adaoma used to draw in the dirt with a stick. Tears filled her eyes as she realized it was a gift, a sign that Adaoma was thinking of them. The ocean, once a source of sorrow, became a place of connection. Adana and Nana would sit by the shore, speaking to the waves as though their daughter could hear them. And in the gentle rhythm of the tide, they felt her presence, a reminder that love could transcend even the greatest of distances. The villagers, too, never forgot Adaoma. They spoke of her as a symbol of love, sacrifice, and the delicate balance between the human and the divine. And so the story of Adaoma, the child of the sea and the land, was passed down through generations, a tale of wonder and wisdom that reminded all who heard it of the power of promises and the enduring strength of love.